Hey everybody, it's Chase and Lauren here from the Scoop on Life. We want to spend a few minutes kind of recapping the past 10 weeks of our first section of the Scoop on Life, and that is talking about the pro-life and abortion. And so we've had some phenomenal guests on the podcast, and we started out with the president of Carenet, Roland Warren. We also had Cindy Hopkins, both of them from Carenet, which is an affiliate for Pregnancy Resources Centers. And we actually have the opportunity next week to go to the Carenet Conference down in Orlando. So be on the lookout in the coming weeks. We'll be sharing that experience with you. We're so excited about that. We also had Scott Klusendorf on the podcast. He is the president of the Life Training Institute, where they equip individuals in their pro-life defense, which is huge. You can find some of their resources online at prolifetraining.com. And recently we had Melissa Oden on the Scoop on Life podcast. She is a abortion survivor. She survived a saline abortion in 1977. She shared her story. It was truly incredible. So we have had a great 10 weeks of the Scoop on Life, and if you missed one, well, don't worry. You can go back and listen on the Apple Podcast app, on Spotify, and on YouTube, and hear all 10 of those great episodes.
And it's crazy to think that we've already been doing this for 10 weeks, but super excited for the guests that we've been able to have on. And as he mentioned, we're going to the conference in Orlando next week, the Carenet Conference, and hoping to meet new people there to be able to bring new content to you guys. And so what I want to do real quick is go over some books that we've mentioned in some of the podcasts. The authors of these books were on the podcast. We might have mentioned them then, but just to remind you of some great resources that are out there to help you in your knowledge of what it means to be pro-life and your defense. And so first I want to recommend again this book. Is called Stand for Life, and it's written together by John Enzer and Scott Klusendorf, both which were on the podcast earlier several weeks ago. And this is just a good book to help you with a pro-life defense. What does it really mean to be pro-life? How do I engage in a conversation maybe with someone who's pro-choice? And to feel like you really have a good defense for the why behind pro-life, this is an excellent resource. Also, this is another really good resource by Scott Klusendorf, same guy. And this book is really, really helpful. He talks in this book about embryonic stem cell research. He talks again about your defense. What is the unborn? If the unborn is life, is it okay to kill it? When is it okay to kill it? He talks about the argument of my body, my choice. Does rape justify abortion? Well, you don't have a perspective because men can't get pregnant. And so this is a really great book as well, just to help with some of, again, just the defense to being pro-life. And again, he gets into some of the tougher issues like embryonic stem cell research, which I've had a few conversations with individuals about that. So also recommend this. This book is called Innocent Blood. This is a pretty small book, very easy to read, from John Enzer. He makes a case for life based on a passage out of Deuteronomy 19 about God's care about innocent blood. Good book. This book is also by John Enzer. It's called Pregnancy Crisis Intervention. This one's going to probably be geared more towards someone who is a volunteer at a pregnancy resource center, or who even knows a loved one or a family member who maybe is facing an unexpected pregnancy, or counselors, or even if you're just somebody that's curious what really a pregnancy center does. This is just a good book looking at, his title here is Pregnancy Crisis Intervention, What to Do and Say When It Matters Most. And so just really helpful tools there. One last resource I want to mention is it's called The Dignity and Sanctity of Every Human Life Resource Guide. This is actually by Focus on the Family. This is a pretty big book, and in it they talk about the value of all of life from womb to tomb, which is something that we've mentioned on the podcast before. And so that being said, as Chase mentioned, as we've done these 10 weeks of abortion and preborn, we're going to be kind of transitioning into foster care and adoption, looking at what it means to be pro-life when it comes to foster care and adoption. So if you're interested in just all of life care, being pro-life, this is a really good resource. They talk about topics from preborn to human trafficking, racism, poverty and death from preventable disease, end-of-life care, just good resources in here, personal testimonies, pastors' input, just all kind of resources in here that just talk about the dignity and sanctity of every human life. So great resources. Any of those people that I mentioned, John Enzer, Scott Klusendorf, Kirk Walden was also on the podcast a few weeks ago. He has a good book called The Wall that is basically talking about the need for pregnancy centers and how we can build a wall of defense in reference to the story of Nehemiah in the Bible, so recommend that as well. But any of those individuals that we've had on to interview for our podcast, they've all got either websites or books or good resources that you can really take advantage of to learn more, to build your own pro-life defense, to be more set in why you believe what you believe, and from a gospel perspective. So recommend those, and there's lots more out there. The website Chase mentioned with Scott Klusendorf, it's a great resource as well.
All kinds of great stuff happening. We've got great guests already lined up as we move into our next topic of the Scoop on Life. We want to remind you to check us out on social media, Facebook and Instagram. Just search for the Scoop on Life podcast, like it, and keep up to date with all we've got going on. And again, the ways you can listen: Apple Podcast app, Spotify, and YouTube. We're excited about what we do here with the Scoop on Life, and we hope you tune in for more of the Scoop on Life podcast.